Yeah, we've got the xTool S1 laser here, and we're gonna open this beast up. All right, so I'm not getting paid for this, but xTool was generous enough to send me the S1. I've had a few people ask about my opinion on the S1, and so I wanted to get my hands on it and see what it was all about. Before I do get started, I just want to say you do not need a laser to do Leathercraft. If you don't have the money, don't buy it. We personally use lasers for prototyping and one-off custom orders, and that's all we use it for. So yeah, you do not need a laser to do Leathercraft. That being said, let's get started. So as a leather crafter, there's two main reasons why you want a laser, and that's one, in cutting leather, two, engraving leather. And this machine, the S1, this is the 20-watt laser. It comes with a 40-watt as well, so you could upgrade and purchase that, but for the purposes of Leathercraft, a 20-watt would be sufficient. So naturally, this machine cuts very similarly to the D1 Pro 20-watt laser that I reviewed a year ago. So if you want to see a little bit more of what the xTool can do, check out that video. But here are some preliminary tests on veg tan. Here we have a test grid for engraving. So these are some, just basic settings to work off of. Obviously down here at P70 S100, it's really dark and it's starting to char. Up here is definitely not dark enough or deep enough of impression, so you've got something around here that looks pretty good. So we ran some test grids for the cutting settings. You can see there's 2 to 3 ounce here, it cuts pretty well, and you can see the 4 to 5 ounce here, and it actually cut better. They came from 2 different hides, and this one's actually softer and feels almost tumbled. And this one was much stiffer. So just goes to show that even within veg tan leathers, you might get different results cutting. Part of the problem here, I think, was also that it wasn't laying flat because it is so thin. So it bulged a little bit, so it didn't cut perfectly. But you can see it cuts 4 to 5 ounce, no problem. And then we tried cutting 7 to 9 ounce leather, and that looks like this. So it cuts it pretty easily as well. You don't need to max out the settings to even cut 7 to 9 ounce leather here. So here are 7 reasons why I think xTool stands out from the rest of the diode laser market. Number 1 is that they have improved their autofocus. Autofocus is now way better. Before, with the D1 Pro, you have to manually set the height on the xTool. You'd have to raise the head up and down based on this little thing that you flip down. Or with the Creality, you had like a little bar that kind of gave you a general focus point. It was tedious and not super accurate in my opinion. This new autofocus thing makes it way easier. I'll show you exactly how it works. It's just with the click of a button, and it will automatically focus it for you. Second reason is the pinpoint positioning. You won't find many diode lasers with cameras built in, except for the We Create Vision, I think. Most of the other diode lasers available use something called manual framing. Manual framing is tedious and it's hard to get super accurate, especially things that are not rectangular. Don't get me wrong, I think camera is the way of the future, and I can't wait till xTool incorporates some sort of camera into their diode lasers. Hi, Future Helene here with a quick interruption. As I was editing this, xTool actually announced xTool Creative Space 2.0 beta version. And in that beta version, they've released a new feature called Snapshot Preview. With this feature, you can use the camera on your phone to take a picture of your work area with the registration stickers. And then with that picture, you can overlay that onto your canvas so you can align everything perfectly using that photo. It's not as great as having a built-in camera, but we're getting there. And I am super excited to see how well this feature works.
This is what I love about xTool. Anyways, back to Pash to Lane.
But the pinpoint positioning is a great improvement over manual framing. The S1 allows you to see exactly where the laser head is on your xTool Creative Space work area. So you know where it is exactly. And then you can tell it to mark your project so that you know exactly where your project lays on the work area. I'll show you what I mean. With this pinpoint positioning, you can mark all kinds of shapes. You're not just limited to rectangles, you can do circles, polygons, etc. Third reason is the Smart Air Assist. I really like the new Smart Air Assist that xTool has put out. Previously, their Air Assist was just constantly running, and if you want to turn it off, you'd hit the switch. So even if you're engraving or cutting, the setting was pretty much the same unless you manually turned it off. With the Smart Air Assist, you can automatically set it so that it has different settings for when it engraves and cuts, and it just does it automatically for you when it switches from engraving to cutting. And that's because when you cut, you need a lot of air assist. When you engrave, you don't want air assist. For example, this was the test grid with air assist on. So this is what it looks like when you're engraving with air assist on. And this is what it looks like with air assist off. So when you engrave, you want air assist off, and when you cut, you want air assist on. This new Smart Air Assist automatically does that for you, so you don't have to manually do it. I love that. Small improvement, but makes a big difference. The fourth reason is the improvement in safety. I tested both the xTool D1 Pro and the Creality Falcon 2, and neither at the time had built-in enclosures. And they both came with these enclosures that are kind of like tents and that you just put on top. Ever since these diode lasers came out, my main qualm with them has always been the lack of enclosure and proper ventilation. xTool has actually come out with a proper enclosure in the S1, and that is by far one of my favorite improvements. I still find that the fan inside this diode laser doesn't funnel air out as well as I'd like, so I've actually purchased an inline duct fan that pulls the air out and pushes it outside, and that made a big difference. So highly recommend an inline duct fan. xTool sells one, but you can also purchase one on Amazon. The fifth reason, this is kind of a silly reason, but I love it, is these tiny little honeycomb pins. They are awesome. They're magnetic and they just hold things down well. Ta-da! And those are the honeycomb pins. Really, my only complaint is that they only gave me 4. I would love way more than this. These are awesome. All right, so the sixth reason is a lot of these companies in the last few years haven't done anything except for put out stronger lasers. So they'll come out with a 10 watt and then a 20 watt, and that's about it. xTool, I feel like, is actually trying to innovate. They just started a Kickstarter for the first screen printing solution with laser. So they have a screen printer and you can actually laser the screen out and use that for screen printing. And I thought that was super smart. It's very new, but it's exciting. And xTool is constantly doing stuff like that and changing things up. So specifically with the S1, there's the conveyor system with the riser base, so you can actually slide things through and have it go through. So you can actually laser larger projects. Obviously this isn't super new. Glowforge Glowforge has the pass-through slot, and other lasers have similar things, but definitely a first for the diode laser market. It just goes to show that xTool is willing to try new things and try to improve their product. And another thing is their software. Their xTool Creative Space is by no means a perfect program, but it is a very solid program for beginners. Many of the other lasers, they don't even have a software. They recommend you use Laser Gerbil, which is like the opposite of user-friendly and not great. And then there's Lightburn, which you have to pay for. I think xTool Creative Space is a great program for those starting out. XES has also grown a lot. They've made a lot of improvements over the years, and they actually take into consideration what their customers want. And I really appreciate that. They're always trying to update and improve the software. They're coming out actually today with the xTool Creative Space 2.0 beta. So I'm excited to try that out and see what improvements have been made. And the final thing of why I think xTool is on top of the diode laser mountain is the community. xTool, more than any of these other diode lasers, have a solid maker community. You have a problem, there's probably a Facebook or Reddit thread out there that has already solved it. And in my mind, that is an invaluable thing for a tool like this, is to have a solid community behind it. And I don't think any other diode lasers have that. There's other options out there in the CO2 market that you can look at, but for a diode laser, I would highly recommend the xTool S1. If I could improve anything on this machine, it'd probably to install a camera on it so that you could actually just see exactly where you're going to be laser cutting or engraving. And the second thing is I would improve the fan that pulls the air out, because I don't think it's strong enough. But other than that, this is a phenomenal product, and I'm excited to see what xTool puts out next. I've included links for these products in the description. I'm not getting paid for this video, but if you click these links, I will make a small commission, and that will help me keep pushing out videos. Anyways, thank you guys all for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.